ship attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. This is the first time in 9 it makes. It's a cargo ship that had just passed through the Strait of Hormuz. It was attacked by Iran. A strike that leaves any sort of an agreement between Trump and Iran as shaky and amorphous and undefined, and how many synonyms can I come up with on that, as it already was, is in question tonight. Now, what we know about this attack is that a cargo ship was hit by a one-way attack drone, according to the Wall Street Journal, which also reports that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps was responsible. Now, Tehran is just showing the obvious here, though, but this action speaking louder than any word, showing that, yes, they are still in control of the Strait of Hormuz. They can shut it down whenever they want, despite what Trump just claimed.
As long as they respect us, I don't want to use the word fear, because that's an inappropriate word, but as long as they respect us, we're not going to have any trouble. We have total control of the Strait.
Now, obviously, if you have total control of the Strait, other countries aren't bombing ships in the Strait. Okay, that's just to state the obvious. And it's not the only thing that we've been pointing out, that Iran and the United States are just having completely different tales about. Trump says there's not going to be any that there will be nuclear inspectors inside Iran. I'm sorry. Iran is adamant that there will not be. Iran's president said its missiles are also not part of the agreement, saying, quote, the discussion over our missiles does not exist in the memorandum of understanding, and it never will, which is really mind-boggling, because Trump said when he started the entire war, as one of the core tenets of the reason that he bombed Iran was to limit the country's missile program.
Our objectives are clear. First, we're destroying Iran's missile capabilities, and you see that happening on an hourly basis, and their capacity to produce brand new ones, and pretty good ones they make.
It raises big questions about this so-called agreement.
So-called agreement and the negotiations. I mean, part of the 60-day negotiations, the 60-day deal that reopens the Strait of Hormuz, says that in exchange for the United States removing the naval blockade, that Iran will ensure, or to the best that they can, ensure the safe passage of these commercial vehicles or vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. That is clearly not what they did here. It does not say only have these vessels go through Tehran's route. And that is what we heard from the Iran Revolutionary Guard. They had put out a statement before they actually attacked this ship, and they said in it that safe passage through the strait was limited to routes designated by Tehran, and that other routes were unacceptable and completely dangerous. Well, they're dangerous because of Iran and Iran striking them. They're flexing every single muscle they have here, saying they control the strait, saying that if you don't listen to the way that we want to control the strait, we are going to attack you. And that's what we saw here. Now, what's also interesting about this is there's been no comment from the White House on this. And what we've seen really in the past several days is that the White House, the administration, has been willing to not necessarily give Iran any kind of leeway here, but trying not to rock the boat. They want this deal to work. They want these negotiations to go through, and they want to be out of this war. We've known that for some time, President Trump looking for this off-ramp. But what this does is that technically it appears it actually breaks the deal. If that is Iran that is attacking this ship when they were supposed to be, to their best of their capabilities, keeping these vessels safe through the Strait of Hormuz. So what does that mean for the naval blockade? And again, we have not heard any actual comment from the White House on this, but of course we know they're watching this very closely as they're trying to get through this negotiating period and get a final deal on the table.
Iran is sending the world a message. We're in control of the strait. You follow the routes we designate, or we're going to hit your ships. But even more important, the statement from the Persian Gulf Strait Authority, which has responsibility for tolls, is making the same kind of statement. So it indicates that they're going to be imposing tolls or fees. In a sense, they're almost mocking the president because he has given away so much of our leverage by lifting the sanctions and unfreezing assets. So I think what has to happen now, the administration has to think very hard about suspending the lifting of sanctions and the unfreezing of assets to regain our bargaining power, because clearly Iran is far from taking us seriously. This is a very ominous step.
Yeah, I mean, well, and there doesn't seem to be anything that they're in agreement on. As I said, it's confusing what was signed, when, and by who. All of that is confusing. But missiles are in it. The other side's missiles aren't. Nuclear inspectors are in it. No, they're not. The strait's open, or we control it. No, we control it. There's not a single thing they appear to agree on, actually, except for the fact that Iran was getting money.
And the inspection issue is absolutely key, because if you recall, when a lot of us went along with the JCPOA, we insisted that there be airtight inspection and verification by the IAEA. Now the Iranians are saying no oversight, no verification, no inspection has been agreed to. That's a real sticking point.
And okay, so I want to ask you about something else here in the Middle East, actually. You're demanding an investigation into something very specific, which is reports of a secret $500 million investment by an Emirati royal from the UAE into the Trump family cryptocurrency business. So there's this $500 million investment that you want investigation into, and this investment was made just 4 days before Trump's inauguration. That's the timing of it. Wall Street Journal first reported it and said it was an Emirati royal who was involved. So the Trump administration very soon thereafter gave the UAE access to special chips made by NVIDIA. What questions do you have here?
Well, this deal, Aaron, is probably the most overtly corrupt deal by any American president with any foreign official in American history. It's part of a pattern of corruption and self-enrichment. The deal was made with Donald Trump's family, his two sons, World Liberty Financial, which is their crypto firm, for $500 million of investment, but also $2 billion in the purchase of the stable coins that World Liberty Financial is selling. And then, magically, the Trump administration approved $1.4 billion in military sales and about $1 billion worth of advanced AE chips, which are necessary for the data center that the Emiratis want to establish. And it was all done by the Sheikh Tahun bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the brother of the president, the head of national security. So it is just profoundly, on its face, certainly corrupt. That's why we need a hearing and an investigation.
Okay, so a White House spokesperson told the Wall Street Journal that AI chips deal had, quote, everything to do with what's best for the United States and nothing to do with World Liberty Financial.
Well, the purchase of the stablecoins was made through World Liberty Financial, which is Donald Trump family and Witkoff family operation.
Yes,
they
the
may
sons
try to
of both.
distinguish the two, but let them say it under oath in a hearing. Let them explain. The burden is on them to justify this apparent quid pro quo. If they've got a good explanation, let them give it under oath before the American people.
Well, it's a big statement if you say this is the most corrupt deal in the context of all the things that we're learning. Eric Trump, obviously, is one of the sons, Witkoff's son and Trump's son, who were involved in this, was in Dubai at a crypto conference praising the UAE for never getting caught up by bureaucracy, right? Essentially being able to do whatever they want to do. Here he is.
And I always say that the rest of the world has to be careful of the UAE for one reason. They always arrive at the word yes, which is a beautiful thing, and they do it quickly.
You know what's interesting here is what the UAE is doing makes sense for the UAE. Okay? You do whatever deal you need to do to get what you need. That makes sense from a foreign policy and a business perspective for the other country. It's the United States side of this that seems to raise the most questions. That this would be the president's son.
And it is obviously the president who is profiting. Reuters has estimated that the Trump family has already made more than $2 billion in profits as a result of their crypto operations.
$2 billion.
And that is a profound statement on the self-enrichment and corruption going on in this administration.